What's up, guys? Welcome to a new YouTube video. This is a full, raw, unscripted video of my brother and I having a brainstorm session together. Him and I are both coaches of different kinds and business owners of different kinds. He has a men's coaching program, and I have a fitness and self-development program for entrepreneurs. And we coach on a lot of the same stuff, but a lot of it's different. But we are both passionate in general about optimizing ourselves, becoming the highest level version of ourselves possible, healing through all of our inner trauma, developing our emotions, developing our thoughts, our beliefs, our identity, developing ourselves physically, energetically. And so naturally we have a lot of discussion around self-development and kind of developing frameworks and stuff like that. We have many conversations like this that aren't filmed. For this particular brainstorm session, I decided to film it. Brett did actually not know that we were filming, and I kind of did that by design. I thought it'd be cool just to get it as, authentic as possible. Not that we change much when the camera's on, but I figured, I would just kind of like hit record and kind of see what happens. We had a nice long brainstorm around emotional development and just kind of isolating how thoughts and emotions relate to each other, and just kind of unpacking a lot of very kind of abstract and intangible concepts, and that I'm personally trying to wrap my head around in real time. Like, we do these brainstorm sessions so we can gain a further understanding of these concepts to help more people with, including our clients. And so we had a lot of fun with it. There were a lot of laughs, a lot of little jokes in there, and I think it was pretty solid. I gained some clarity as a result of this brainstorm session. So as far as this video goes, I don't know if you'll find this, somewhat entertaining, or maybe you'll gain some education as well, gain some clarity, gain some insights. But either way, I hope you enjoy and appreciate your time.
Okay, so take us away, you dirty dog. You dirty man. I'm so ready for this.
Okay, so main intention for this particular mini brainstorm session: understand and master emotions.
Emotions.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that'll break into other stuff as well. Where would you start with this?
I just asked ChatGPT the answer to that question, which is, what are emotions?
Yeah.
Let's just start with it.
Let's start with what are emotions.
So emotions are a complex. You can write down whatever you want.
Yeah.
Emotions are complex psychological and physiological states that arise in response to your thoughts, experiences, or environment. They help you interpret and react to the world, guiding your decisions, relationships, and survival.
Thoughts, experiences, environment are the first keys. Okay. But experiences, environment, like, it's really thoughts.
Right, like, ultimately.
Because you dictate the meaning of your experiences and environment.
That's right.
So thoughts are the biggest domino.
Yeah.
So would you say it's imperative to master your thoughts if you're going to master your emotions?
Without a doubt, it's imperative. And I like where you went with that. I think ultimately it's all thought. It's all thought.
It's a matter of thought.
And even if there's no conscious thought, there's unconscious thought. I'm going to ask that question though. Well, where do you want to take this? From that starting point. What's the next question that makes you curious?
So your emotions, would you say, are entirely dictated, and we could say like the state of your nervous system as well, entirely dictated by conscious and subconscious thought? Like, if your body either consciously or unconsciously perceives a threat or perceives something to be unsafe, your nervous system's going to up or down regulate.
Yep.
You're going to experience different emotions based on what you associate, based on what meaning you associate to the external event or experience that occurs.
Yep.
And so your conscious and subconscious thoughts are ultimately the big domino. Mm-hmm. And that could be, again, about different experiences or events. It could also be like in regards of your identity, your thoughts about yourself, your thoughts about the world, and then your reinforced thoughts, which are beliefs, would heavily dictate, your emotional experience and the meanings that you associate.
Right.
And so perhaps if you want to change what occurs with your nervous system and your emotional environment, you need to change your dominating thoughts, dominating beliefs, and those need to be the ones that you need to audit and edit. Because we have tens of thousands of thoughts per day that come and go. Not too important perhaps, but the ones that are just continually replaying are perhaps the ones that need to be looked at.
Yeah, I love that.
Consciously and subconsciously.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so then what's next? So we know then that we want to look at our dominating thoughts. We want to look at the ones that lead to the emotions that we don't want.
We could say that the dominating thoughts consciously and subconsciously like lead to everything in life. Success or lack thereof, successful relationships or lack thereof, good emotional environment or lack thereof.
Yeah, it's interesting because I agree.
Yeah, you want to hop in?
Yeah, I wanted to slide right. Like, I look at that as like this is us living our life, and like our thoughts and emotions is like, I should even put it a little higher. It's like what we're able to actually see. Like our I didn't even need to close that off actually. It's like our thoughts and emotions, if we could call this like the reality, like our mode of perception. And this is like the game we're in. This is the game we're playing. So like some people play the game of like, you know, like I'm never safe. Like I'm you know, I'm a huge threat. Like some people play the game of, you know, abundance and money. Some people play the game of scarcity and money. There's like the game that we play, the reality that we play is basically dictated by our mode of perception. Like what game are we in? What are the rules of the game? Because actually one of the things that your brain does is it creates a map. It creates a map of the terrain of life. And that's really what you're talking about with beliefs. It's like, what's the map that my brain has?
That's what you see in like a physical terrain.
Yes.
You can't walk above or beneath it. It's like
you're on
you're
it.
governed by what the terrain is.
Yes.
And what most people don't realize, you can change the terrain. What it doesn't feel like you can do sometimes is change the terrain.
1,000%. And that's actually what these exterior lines are, these borders. This is the terrain.
That's the terrain, yeah.
That you can't cross. Okay.
And then so the game is to identify which aspects of your terrain you do need to change.
Yeah.
And symptoms of which could be shown in business relationships, your emotional environment.
Yeah.
Etc. And so perhaps would you say a productive method would be to identify which of these symptoms, let's say, lack of success in business, poor emotional environment, depression, fighting with your spouse, whatever symptoms are kind of like you care about the most, I suppose, and most meaningful for you to want to change, isolate those, and then would that lead you back to the kind of dominating thoughts that are leading to those symptoms, because everything stems from thoughts?
1,000%. Can we use you as an example of something that's potent for you, just because it's your turn? So let's, because I think examples really help with understanding as well. Okay, so basically, let's just create a little bit of clarity. Sorry, I came back and stole my lover again.
That's fine.
So what you've clarified for us here is basically that emotions are. Excuse me, actually.
Where does trauma fit into this?
Well, trauma. Well, we'll get into that in a second. This is where we ended off here. So the dominant thoughts that we have, that's so true. Now that's actually a thought that Abraham Hicks brought up in that book you recommended to me. What's that book called again?
Asking is Given.
Yeah, that was a word she used, was dominant thoughts. So it's like, yeah, so like, and this is, if I may just take a side note,
100%.
this is kind of where affirmational work comes into play. Affirmational work. Affirmation is where you say it in the mirror, you don't really believe it. Affirmation is where you say it from that actual experience of it. I'm wealthy, and you actually feel it. That's affirmation. And so the idea of dominant thoughts really brings up the affirmational work, because it's like, I honestly think, simply put, people don't spend enough time making these the dominant thoughts. Like, I think people go like,
they try to change these without changing these.
1,000%. Or they try to change these, but they only do it for a few minutes.
Yeah.
And then they get to that comfort zone threshold, and they're not willing to like sit longer or stay longer to hold new dominant thoughts. Because so now we're going to kind of get into trauma. So basically, you've established so far that the results in our life come from our thought and emotional loops. causes our behavior. Really, behavior is mixed in there and then the results.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what you've clarified so far. Where do you want to take this next? Feel free just to write or change anything if you want, as you choose.
Let's so can I have that pen marker?
Yeah.
So first of all, we could pack in like trauma here, trauma. How would you differentiate between nervous system and emotions? Nervous system would signal emotions, yeah?
You know, the nervous system is really more just like the biological view of emotion. Emotions is more like your psyche. Where
Interesting.
Nervous system's like the
Emotions
the
are like the labels of the state of the nervous system.
Yeah. Like okay, so let's just take a quick minute for that. That's a good question. So there's really so nervous system, right? So this is your central nervous system, your peripheral nervous system. This is your autonomic nervous system, and your enteric nervous system. So this is like so we're just gonna call this your nervous system. But all those things are basically like the brain and the body. So that's biological. It's like so I look at things from viewpoints. There's like the spiritual view of a situation.
Sure.
There's the biological and there's the psychological. Where emotion is more of like meaning. Meaning creates emotion, and meaning is created in thought or in the mind.
Yeah, so the nervous system's like the canvas. The dominant thoughts are the meaning you associate with X, Y, Z.
Yeah,
which create emotions.
Exactly. That's a great way of saying it. It's like the canvas.
Yeah, okay, understood.
So this is like exactly.
And so due to that situation, then like you can experience emotions, or depending on how the situation occurs and how you deal with it, it becomes trauma in certain situations.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And so that gets embedded within the nervous system.
Yeah.
Or emotions can come and go. And then those, like you said, behavior can be somewhere in here, perhaps in between this and results.
Yeah.
And then, so let's just, would you agree with that? Behavior could be like right after emotions here?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then, many things can lead, it can kind of like, trauma occurs and then can kind of lead back here. Reinforced behavior, like these, you could draw like arrows back and forth. It all kind of like interacts with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, even like we gotta give some credit to the environment that we're in too. You know what I'm saying? Like we're getting triggered by the environment constantly, which affects our thoughts, which affects our emotions.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. So just toss it. And then, that could lead to dominant thoughts.
For sure. Look at this tremendous clarity we've created here.
Yeah.
Trauma, emotion, result, behavior, environment. Yes!
This is fucking revolutionary.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say then you have a, I'm gonna grab that black marker. Let's say, cause then boom, this is how the system works, and then as a human being, with the with the face up there, the arm down there.
Oh, I love it. Cool.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
what are these then?
those are his guardian angels.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. You're getting spiritual too.
Okay. Or maybe he has big shoulders or something.
Yeah.
So let's
or
say...
maybe he's aware of the space around him. This is just like a point in space he's aware of.
True.
Who knows?
That's why he's so happy.
Yeah.
Complete alpha wave state right now.
Okay.
Let's say... And then there's dominant thoughts. We could also say dominant emotions. Like useful. Because just like thoughts, they come and go, but emotions also come and go. It's the dominant emotions that would be highest leverage to look at here. Your emotional patterns.
Yeah. Okay. So hold on. So because obviously this is such a vast topic.
Yeah. I
think that let's first create understanding of how it works, and then let's create tools for how to shift it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We're on track for that.
Okay.
And so let's say there's trauma embedded within the nervous system. There's disempowering emotional patterns. Let's say there's some results that aren't where you want them to be, and there's also some behaviors that aren't where you want them to be.
Yeah.
And so and then obviously there's going to be like dominant thoughts that are not optimal for any of this. And so this is any human being.
Yeah.
I mean, there's human beings that probably have all this optimized. Like Tony Robbins probably has like.
He's probably pretty optimized in these areas.
Probably pretty optimized. Yeah. Do you feel watch?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, go for it.
No, I'm into this. You're in the flow.
And so then the key is, what do you do about it? Where do you start? What do you think?
I think your thing was good about look at the results you have in your life and then take time. I mean, Joe Dispenza, what everyone talked about was you have to be aware of the pattern before. Mm-hmm. So you probably just want to get aware of, start thinking about what you've been thinking about and just seeing how your thoughts are leading to your results.
And then start to change your thoughts. That's where Dr. Joe starts all the time. Change your thoughts, change your energy.
Yeah. And if you notice, Tony, in a lot of what he does, it's really just about anything is possible. You can do it. You know you can do it. You absolutely must do it. Go do it.
So he's upgrading the thoughts.
He's upgrading like the core operating system. Like you're powerful, you're capable.
Yeah. Which then what does that lead to? It leads to upgraded emotions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Upgraded emotions, upgraded behavior, and then upgraded results.
Yes.
So he's just like saying like
his whole thing is that. Yeah, exactly. And that's what he does with people.
Yeah. Just like and very as intense as possible.
Yeah.
Often reinforce the new patterns.
Interesting.
And then the results reinforce this, and it becomes like an upward spiral.
Totally. Okay. So take a picture if you want, but erase this.
Yeah.
Here's the next step. See this, by the way, this is why we need like a huge whiteboard.
Yeah.
And you can keep all of it up. Like a massive whiteboard. Okay, so first off, what do you take from that session there?
Dude, I think
Start to bring the green color into this too.
Okay. I think I think that last example you used with Tony was pretty solid.
Okay.
Tony and Dispenza, the combination of Tony and Dispenza, just their philosophy there. Like become aware, and then change your thoughts, change your energy, change your behavior based on what you want, based on the results you want.
I love that.
And just the willingness to do that. I don't think this process is overly like complicated.
No, I don't.
Not as complicated as it may seem.
I agree.
Because it can appear to be quite an abstract equation, which it is, but it's like, it's not complicated to edit. It's not complicated to manipulate.
Yeah.
Like just like, what could be, you can even start with something as simple as like, what are some productive thoughts I could think right now?
Right.
Like what are some empowering alternatives to these thoughts right now? What is some productive behavior I could conduct right now? How would it feel to accomplish this result today? Boom. And then just hop into massive action.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so I think that approach is just like super simple, but like the most effective way to start molding your identity. You have to overcome, you're going against the grain of your patterns. You're going against the grain of perhaps previous disempowering thought patterns, emotional patterns, behavior patterns.
Yeah.
But identity change isn't easy. And so it's going to require going against the grain for a certain amount of time until your new identity is more and more reinforced. Eventually it becomes natural. The results flow after that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's go even, let's go into that. Can I get the green?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a neural network. This is like a neuron connection here. Obviously, there's billions of these in our brain.
Not just 4.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like this.
Yeah. Sometimes this does represent your brain.
yeah. Sometimes this is all.
Like when you want food.
Yes.
This is it.
Pizza.
Yeah.
Little Caesars. Order. Yeah.
Starts with a thought though.
It all started with a thought. Whether high level or not, it started with a thought. So, wow. So many different ways to go about this. So,
What's the overall concept you're trying to highlight with
the
this?
overall concept I'm trying to highlight with this is, you brought up the process of change, and there's one key word that I think, so you brought up the concept of repetition. You used the word time, but really what you meant was repetition.
Wait, when I said what?
When you said that, how do I feel, how could I act, and then boom, it's like basically confronting.
Repetition.
Yeah. But then the next step, I think, is also adding the emotional component. And now what we're talking about is actually rewiring the operating system itself.
So operating system meaning thoughts and emotions?
Operating system meaning like paradigm.
Paradigm. So belief system?
Yeah, exactly. Because like, you might, for example, you might be living in the paradigm where money's hard to make. And within that paradigm, you can shift beliefs and like build momentum and state.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still going to be a hard experience to make money.
Sure.
So the operating system is like the foundational beliefs through which that you live.
So this would be in the dominating thoughts section.
Yeah, big time.
And then in order to rewire that though, you need some emotion embedded within the
Yeah,
equation.
yeah, exactly.
Why is that?
Well, it just seems that that's what your body responds to. Because if you think about all the stimulus that's coming in,
Your body's probably like, why should I change?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, because you can think different thoughts. You can think like, oh, money's this or whatever. But your body's like, and like,
Yeah.
well, so why should I change our default?
Yeah, I already got a great system going.
Yeah.
We've been doing it for years.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it
so like with
works.
some emotion, either pain or pleasure, let's say.
Exactly. One of the two or both.
Or both. Then the body's like, okay, makes sense. There's some logic to change the wiring now.
Yes. And by the way, this is why trauma is so powerful. Trauma, at least if it happens in one event, you don't even need repetition. The emotion is so powerful.
The emotion
You just need one hit.
Volume, yeah.
And that's why Tony can change people in short periods of time, because he does such high emotion with such repetition in such a short time that your brain really gets it.
Yeah.
We're like reading a chapter a day of a book. It's just really just doing repetition. Where if you do with that repetition and emotion, hour after hour for a few days, that's how Tony literally rewires people's brains and bodies in a few days. That's why you feel so good after those events.
Yeah.
Because your whole nervous system's been rewired. So, yeah, so, okay, now we're gonna get real naughty. now let's bring it back to the nervous system. In order to do this work, your nervous system needs to feel safe enough to change, safe enough to cross the river of change. So at Tony's events, he creates safety in the nervous system by going like this, yes, yes, and you feel so powerful. You feel so certain, so powerful that you feel safe. You feel like anything can fuck with you.
So this depends on what say in a different way, etc. But let's say let's just for simplicity's sake, there's like a threshold, safe threshold. And if your nervous system's just like operating down here, you can't really do anything. This could be like fight or flight. This could be like anything, right?
Yeah.
So the priority is to bring it into a safe place through some initiative, such as the priming that Tony does. Maybe it depends on the same meditation.
Yeah.
Right, and then when you're up here, to start to do the work to rewire yourself, think new thoughts, take new behavior, reinforce it with emotion.
And this safe point is, I think it's also where the conscious and subconscious mind start to merge together. Like, they talk about safety, it's where your defenses can basically relax. Defenses are like that conscious mind, like those protective mechanisms, those beliefs that like keep us stuck playing small. And so when we feel safe, the conscious mind relaxes. We're back in our body and we're like, yeah, I am amazing.
Yeah, or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And so much of the game is going to be just making your nervous system safe.
Exactly.
And it could be unsafe, like stored trauma in certain situations or certain paradigms, belief paradigms, like I'm not safe in this situation, I'm not meant to be here, I don't deserve this, etc., etc. And so whatever the context is of the unsafety, to bring it back into safety. Because we're not actually unsafe in today's society in 99% of equations.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so to learn this, gain the awareness that our nervous system is unsafe. Instead of just saying like, oh, I'm anxious, like, oh, should I leave, or whatever. Yeah. Just saying like, hold on a second, my nervous system feels unsafe. What could this mean? What can I do about it right now to bring myself back to equilibrium? And then once you're there, start to say like, okay, what's the context of this? Is this just conditioned beliefs from childhood? Was there an experience that caused this? Is this stored trauma? What is the context of this unsafety? And let's reinforce the truth.
So 1,000%. And I really do see it as very simple.
Yeah.
I do see it as very simple. Now let's just go for a moment. And this will be your neocortex. This will be your what do they call this one? The midbrain. And then we're gonna call this one the reptilian. So this is why safety is so important. I was saying trauma, and this is more like that body-based approach. So these are your most ancient systems. This is like your emotional brain, and this is your thinking brain. Yeah. And if you feel unsafe on some level, these are more powerful than this. This is like...
They completely take over.
Yeah.
And then how are these in relation to the nervous system, let's say? Like sympathetic, parasympathetic, fight or flight?
Well, I mean, this would be your survival response here. This would be like your alarm system.
Yeah, because you don't need like complex intellectual thoughts when you're trying to run from a saber-toothed tiger.
No, yeah.
And then this just like, and then it pumps the body full of like certain emotion, or I guess whatever.
Maybe it's an emotion. Maybe write biochemistry.
Biochem, yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
And then that starts like it just like reinforces itself
until the threat's solved.
Until the threat is perceived to be solved.
Yeah.
And then so, in this moment, would you say you want to take like whatever sliver of this you have left to say like, okay, this is not necessary. Hold on a sec. and then to say like, okay, like let's do some deep breathing. Let's address it in some way.
Absolutely.
And then to train that. How would you describe the process of training the body that it's safe?
Training the body that it's safe. So there's a few core ways actually, I think, to do that. One is with touch and movement. Touch and movement, like touching oneself. I think also thinking about creating warmth can be really good. Everyone kind of has their own grounding triggers. You want to find, if I'm really overwhelmed or stressed, I literally might just curl in a ball under a blanket on my bed and just slowly, deeply breathe into fetal position. Makes me feel very, very safe. And that helps me deeply, deeply regulate very fast, for example. Eating food is actually one way. Drinking water, because again, the reptilian brain, it's like eating, shitting, sleeping, your RAS, your, all that kind of, all those functions. So I think those would be ways, like those very, Tony says physiology first. I think that's really, really good advice.
Physiology first.
So like doing something that creates safety. So
that hits the reptilian?
Absolutely. This is, absolutely.
So physiology first hits the reptilian. What would hit the limbic?
Same.
Okay,
yeah,
so these are quite connected.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Yeah. This is the one that makes us human. That we can that makes us human. Other animals have these systems as well.
Just these.
This is the mammalian brain. So all mammals have this. These are what reptiles have. Reptiles don't have this because like other animals like horses, they can have emotions too, like bond. Reptiles, they're just like...
I've seen a donkey laugh at a dog for getting hit by an electric.
No way.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I know.
That's so awesome.
Which is interesting because laughing, like, have you seen an animal laugh?
I actually have not seen an animal laugh.
Like that's interesting.
Yeah.
It seems to be like one of the higher versions of the limbic, one of the higher levels of it, compared to like fear or something else that you'd find very natural in an animal. Mm-hmm. Laughing is like one of the emotions where you're like, wow, that's interesting. But anyways,
so the alarm system goes off, this biochemistry is created, and now you're thinking all these thoughts, your body's in a stress state, so ideally you can just regulate yourself, boom, you're done.
What would be like, let's say your alarm system's going off in some way, shape, or form, biochem is pumped, and what is, in a perfect world, a fucking Tony Robbins robot? Like, what occurs such that even Tony himself, honestly, he does it within 90 seconds, or whatever comes out.
I mean, he wouldn't do that every time. It takes longer. I understand.
Yeah, and so what occurs such that a very, let's say, amplified alarm system goes off?
I can tell you exactly what this fucking guy would do. So.
I've camped outside his house and I've watched him.
Yeah. You haven't spent the hour sitting up in that tree stalking. Yeah. You have to put in the time. So I'll tell you exactly what this guy will do, and I'm gonna tell you in 3 steps.
Yeah.
The first thing he's gonna do is he's gonna do some type of heart breath. Where there's no thought, no think.
No think. Okay, understood.
Physiology first.
What's he focusing on, or what's he
focusing on his heart and just literally regulating himself, and just getting out of the story, because there's a story going on. They did what the fuck?
Yeah.
How could they do that? Just takes a step back. He might even literally take a step out of that emotional state. Literally step back out, and literally just focus on his breathing for 60 to 90 seconds, like the response of his body. Joe Dispenza, he says the same thing.
So that's right. And what is he doing? What does that do?
He's letting the biochemistry pass without charging it up with more thoughts.
Yeah. So when the biochemistry occurs, what typically occurs within a human being that isn't aware of this and take that initiative? Does it just kind of
Just starts to
perpetuate itself?
Yeah, and now there's tons of thoughts being generated.
And then it kind of reinforces, and then blah blah blah.
It just becomes a loop. So he's instantly stepping out of the loop.
He's breaking the pattern.
Biochemically, the loop wants to go.
It wants to just
but because but he's using the power of his breath and his presence.
He's taking it down. He's bringing it down here, and he's
creating safety again.
He's creating safety.
So body first.
Okay.
So the body starts to think, okay, I'm actually safe. I'm not being attacked. And then what he does is he'll go into some kind of he'll basically go into some kind of cost benefit, where basically he'll basically remind himself of, like, whatever I'm believing, I know it's not the full truth, and I know I'm stressed or angry, but that stress and anger is not going to solve it. So he basically remind himself of the costs of going into this, and he'll know that it's not absolutely true.
Because ultimately, this alarm system came from.
One second. And then he'll basically go into taking care of the controllables. No, I fucked that up. Basically get into it, it's not going to solve it, and he'll start focusing on something he can control. He'll start changing his state again, and then he'll take action on whatever he needs to in that moment. I would say that would be 3 steps.
Okay. So it seems like this is ultimately this is almost like dissociating from the thoughts, because ultimately these came from some kind of thought.
Yeah, exactly. Some type of perception of the environment or within himself.
It's a perception, environment, slash event. There's a quick thought that happens, then that creates the alarm system.
Exactly.
And then so first step is saying just dissociating from that.
Yeah.
And just saying and just focusing on just bringing the addressing this, and just say let's just chill for a second, and then once kind of this, you get up here, you say okay, that's not true, what is true?
Yes.
And then after that, you're kind of having a new thought, and then you're okay, what am I going to do about it? Let's get into action. Let's focus on the controllables when it comes to both my thoughts, emotions, and then also behavior and results.
Yeah, that's beautifully said. Absolutely. And actually, and even up here on the events, even just for extra clarity, this could be an internal event or an external event.
Sure.
Because many people are just getting triggered by their own thoughts about the past.
Right.
It triggers the exact same thought.
Right.
Exact same alarm system. So people are just getting triggered by thoughts by themselves, not even in the events. They're just lying in their bed, getting themselves depressed, thinking about the past or whatever.
Yeah, I mean that's when, event happens, and then if it's not dealt with at the time,
that's
it's trauma.
Yeah.
And then that's just stored, and then either new events can come into play, or trauma can just create different thoughts. And then
and then it's really just this. And so I think the last thing that's important about this process is that when he first started it, he wasn't able to do it this fast.
Sure.
You get fast.
It's practice.
Exactly. But he did. I remember him saying that he did make a commitment at one point to just live in a beautiful state.
Live in a beautiful state.
And at first, it wasn't the 90-second rule; it was the 4-hour rule for him at first. That's what he'd say. And then it becomes the 90-second rule once you commit to doing that work when it comes up.
And I can see how just making a decision like that could just do so much for you.
Yeah.
Because if you have an event, and then the thought happens, and then the alarm system goes off, but you have an overall kind of paradigm of 4 hours, then it's there's a lot more consciousness that remains in the equation. And this doesn't have as much power, and you just know in the background or the foreground, I'm good, it's 4 hours, I know what's happening here.
Yes.
And just having the belief that this is just and the awareness that this is just a temporary event that's occurring. My nervous system just feels unsafe. You know the protocol around it.
Yeah.
Like it becomes the commitment to saying like I'm going to live in a beautiful state becomes actually realistic.
Right.
Because when you say that without knowing this, you're just full of shit, or like you're wishing for something that is impossible. Because unless you actually have a protocol, you can't.
Right.
Because our default wiring isn't
What are
made
you
for
gonna
that.
do? Yeah, what are you gonna do with it? Oh,
Yeah.
that's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, I can say for myself, I haven't had a bad day in a long time. I might have bad hours or bad moments.
Yeah.
Bad days.
You follow this process pretty much?
Yeah, honestly, for the most part, and I'm able to do it pretty quickly as well. Yeah. Even like in the day when I found out I have a 22 grand payment that I just randomly, that fucked with me. However, after like half a day of processing it, I was actually feeling really confident and secure about it.
Yeah, because what's the point in like perpetuating?
1,000%.
You know.
Yeah. And there's a certain level as well of like letting like my body express it and feel it and not making it wrong. Like it's like a problem that needs to be fixed. Yeah. But more so just I'm a human, and so I'm gonna experience these things. Yeah. And as quickly as I can in this present moment, I'm gonna come back to these other states. This level of there's a lot more depth that you and I are both gonna go to with these topics. Yeah. Of understanding all of this, but this is actually enough to apply and get results with. That's why coaches like us, we can teach this stuff and people can actually take it and go get results with it. Because it's really all the basic that you really need. Just understand, okay? I get triggered, then I have a thought, then my alarm system goes off, I relax myself, you know, I look at the cost benefit, and then I do a motion repetition just to get back to the controllables, and I just consistently do this. Yeah, and then like we're looking at this from like a singular event too, but most people, like they have, including even myself in large aspects of my journey, it's just like dominating thought. It just keeps you dominating thought. It just keeps. Just when things start to look up, eh? Yeah. Bam. And then you're like, and then dominating thought. Yeah. Stay down, bitch. Yeah, you got some power here? You get any sense of power at all? Wrong. Yeah. And then so then let's say this is the case, and then it becomes a matter of like doing it, and then boom, you get hit back down, and then doing it again, and then it's gonna be like boom, like that might be the state of things for a while, where you're just gonna fluctuate above and below, and then the key is just to train yourself. Yeah. Because you might be in like such a loop of disempowering thoughts and emotions. It's so hard to be in that loop. Yeah, and then you have to just, and then boom, break it, and just even if you bring yourself back up a little bit, that's a win. And then the loop resolves, and then maybe goes down. Then you break it down here in the fucking rock bottom, and then you're like, oh, I'm gonna try to go up here. And then all those little wins matter. They build skill, and then eventually they build skill, yes, and they help you in that moment. Yeah. And I think it's always good to remember too. Like for me, I always remember this, even if I don't do it. Which is, if I'm ever here, I know at any point in time I can go right up here. At any given moment in time, there's not a moment in time I can't do this. Because you know this equation. I know this very well, and I've also done this, and it's just you just start to realize it's more uncomfortable. Once you get here, you're fucking if you go from here to here, you feel fucking unstoppable after. Yeah. And that's actually why I think there's a huge liberation when we face our fears. Because these fears are like right here, and then you face it, and you just get shot up here, because then the thing you're scared of keeping you here is gone, and you're just up here fucking flying. Yeah. So at any moment in time, like right now, we could both just go straight to here if we wanted to. Right. Just remembering that. Like even from the place where I'm like, I don't fucking like feel like it, I'm just like, maybe I'll feel some gratitude, but I don't feel like getting myself super high. Or even if it feels like I can't do it, I always choose to remember that I can. Even if it feels like You're maintaining the overall paradigm, even if you don't embark on the exact steps. And that's also part of growth too. is just constantly reminding ourselves, like in our language, like keeping our language controllable, keeping our language positive, keeping our language on a focus of what we want, and speaking in reality what we want, even if we can't do it. It's priming the next moment as well.
Yeah. This is a really good 3-step system.
Yeah, this is a good 3-step system, I agree. And and you know, if you think about it, this could be stretched out to a 60-minute process. Each of those steps could go.
You can make it 60
longer.
seconds or 60 minutes, depending on what the context is.
Depending on, if you need it for longer. Like you might need to take like 30 minutes of that 60 just to do this.
You might need like 6 days to really hammer it in.
Sure. And then this might take a little longer. The cost is usually
depending on how you're wired and how new you are to rewiring the thought at hand or the belief system at hand. If you're just dialing into something for the first time, half of it's going to still be invisible to you, and you're going to have to like spend some time there, isolating like what's actually going on, because it might just be like a vague. You might be feeling this, but have no idea like what's going on here, and just spending a lot of time there, which will probably lead to, and before you can change the thoughts, you got to become aware of them, and just the more time you spend just calming down this, once you're up here. It's easier to become aware of like, okay, what got me down there?
Yeah, and then basically, dude, then at that point, you're basically just living as this, like, because dude, the dude that lives here has very different results than the dude that lives here.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why there's no fucking point in staying down there.
No, there's none. There's none. As it pertains to, you know, great life results.
Yeah.
And so that's it, you know. And that's actually, and that's also why, to me, it going to this gym is just as important as going to the physical gym.
100%, yeah.
Because why would you not want to strengthen these muscles?
Yeah.
If it's true that this makes the impact on your results as the core impact, why not go to the core impact gym every day?
Yeah.
You get the biggest impact.
Exactly.
And by the way, this is why people that just talk about mindset sometimes aren't able to fully help people because they don't understand this. They're all about this. This is mindset right here.
Yeah.
There's this whole other process that's going on.
They literally just focus on step 2.
Yeah, exactly.
And maybe part of step 3.
And maybe part of step 3 as well. Yeah.
You can't think about how you feel.
Yeah, exactly. There's this guy at the speaking event I went to, he's one of the teachers. It's like 19, 20-year-old, you know, guy, and he creates some good success in business. Very confident guy, but there's definitely like some like compensation vibe energy I was getting from him. But to his credit, he could really like own a room and like he was super confident. So one thing he was saying to this guy is like basically just love yourself. Just love yourself. Basically just choose to love yourself. And I ended up giving like a little coaching piece on right after that to this guy in the group, and basically explained that C word choice isn't always accessible when all this is going on. This takes away your choice. This takes away your choice. You literally can't choose. So you have to deal with this first. Then you get back to a place where you actually, like, that power to choose is actually there. Like when you choose, it happens. Kind of power. Not like where you say it and you wish it was true.
Sure.
You know? So you gotta feel safe. But I think the big secret, bro, honestly, this is very present for me personally, for my psychology, but I've been really thinking a lot about this and a lot about taking risks and being a little bit more bold and being a little bit more like just really going for it.
Yeah, you're essentially just like you're not believing all this bullshit.
Yeah.
There's like worst case scenario, rejection, failure, like whatever the context, whatever the thoughts that are leading to this, or even just before you get there, even just like the thoughts of like these worst case scenarios or whatever. You're saying like that's the downside, and then there's just massive upside, but this downside actually really doesn't actually fucking exist.
Yeah.
You know, there's no downside to, like, I mean, you learn something, you grow. It's like we're not gonna die.
Yeah.
Like if we get rejected, not gonna die. Learn something, take a risk in business. Who cares? Like you learn something. Just like not listening to the limbic and reptilian brain, essentially, because it's saying like it's taking a risk in life. The limbic brain says like, don't go in that water where there's alligators, bro.
Right.
and then it pumps biochem in our body to make us feel like that's what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We're now in a reality where we are afraid. It is happening.
Yeah.
There's real alligators that will kill us. That's the beautiful thing. We have control over our thoughts. Yeah. Any thought can be changed, and we're only ever afraid of thoughts, as you just showed us. We're only ever afraid of thoughts. Even in the face of seeing a shark in water, it's still just a thought of, oh, it's going to eat me.
I'm going to die.
Yeah. It's still just a thought. Yeah. Because, for example, someone else who's trained with sharks sees a shark and feels joy.
Yeah, excitement.
You and me would feel fucking fear.
Yeah,
you know?
would, yeah.
I'm assuming you would feel fear.
I would start doing a heart breath. Hopefully have some waterproof earphones so I can pop in some Dispenza on the fly.
Nice. Was this valuable for you?
Yeah, hell yeah. Pretty solid. I'm gonna take a picture of this.